Okay, so what is an experience? What makes up an experience for a customer? Well, it's really three things. Three things that go into building experience, and I'm sure you'll all identify with them as customers yourselves. The first is the functional. It's got to do what you want it to do. Quite simple. If it doesn't do what you want it to do, it's not a great experience. The second thing then is accessibility, or the accessible part of the experience. How easy is it for your customers to get your product or service to do what they want it to do? And the third part, and the most important part, and the part which is the thing we tend to ignore as an industry, is how does it make our customers feel? And this is the part which is the most differentiating and special in the way that we work. If we gave this part, the emotional experience, how do we make our customers feel? If we gave that even 10%, 5% of the effort that we have to give to regulatory sign-off processes or internal meetings, building slide decks, if we gave it just that 5%, I'm absolutely certain that we would see a fantastic return for those efforts. Okay, so an example from outside the industry. So what is the functional experience? Let's take airlines. I'm sure many of you will have flown here today. So the functional experience of a flight, you want it to get you from one place to another. If it doesn't do that, it's a pretty bad experience on a flight. The accessible experience. So how easy is it for you to get on that flight? And there's a wonderful innovation that we get now from airlines with apps and barcodes and all kinds of things to make that experience as accessible as possible. And then the emotional one. How do you feel when you're on that flight? I've just come back from holiday, and that was not how my toddler was experiencing the flight himself. But focusing on these three things can really make a difference. Let's look at another example. This is how I'm encouraging that we start to map our customer journeys. This is how we can start to take those three components and build upon them and plan our customer experiences across different industries. So I imagine everyone here has hired a car. The first thing you do is you try and hire it. So you'd go online, you'd browse for it, you'd hire the car, you'd make a financial transaction. That's the first thing. The next thing is that you receive the car. You go and get it. Simple, right? The next part after that is if there's any problems, if the car breaks down or something like that, then you'll get some kind of support. And then the last thing then is you return the car. Now, if that experience is great, or even if, you know what, it just meets your expectations, then you're likely to do it again with that same provider. And that's why it's a circle. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. It really doesn't. So what does it mean for inside of our industry? What does it mean for our own customers? And it doesn't have to be complicated. This is one that I've put together. So imagine a prescriber, a primary care physician within any one of our markets. First thing that tends to happen is that a patient arrives. A patient will arrive with them. The second thing will happen is that they'll make some kind of diagnosis through a conversation or a test or whatever they do to make that diagnosis. The next thing after that is that they'll think about what to do next. So what's the right decision to make here for this patient? They'll then make that decision, whatever it is, and then they'll see what happens. They'll observe, and that'll either be through test results, speaking to the patient again. If all of that experience works really well, then it's quite likely they'll do it again. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. Now, this intrinsically is incorrect. Now, the reason it's incorrect is because I've done it. And I have never, will never, see a patient, make a diagnosis, consider what to treat them and then see what happens. I'll never do it. So I'll never know really what it feels like. And to be able to do this properly, to be able to really make this have a fantastic effect within your business, is not just to try and understand your customers, but to really try and think like them, or to try and feel the way it feels to be them. Now, I recently showed this slide at an internal meeting, and I'll ask the question with you guys as well. So put your hands up if you have seen a customer in the last 3 months. Okay, pretty good. Okay, so now put your hand up if that time was spent at least 24 hours or a working day with your customer, living and breathing what it's like to be them on a day-to-day basis. Put your hand up again. Congratulations, you get a prize. How can we know what it's like to be a customer if all we do, and the interactions we have with them are field visits with reps, meeting at congresses, advisory boards? They're artificial environments. They are not our customers' day-to-day business. It's not what they're trying to achieve with our products and services. The only way we can possibly start to engineer an experience is to start thinking and feeling like a customer. And to that end, when you're going through planning exercises, when you're going through either your standard strategic or operating plan processes, do it with customers would be my advice. Don't do it locked away in an office in Zurich, London, Paris, wherever it is. Do it somewhere with customers. You'll get so much more from it.